Well, unfortunately, Mark Nyamita has begun the year by missing sessions. He promised to be on Sidebar tonight. He's cancelled about 6 minutes to 10, which is very unfortunate. He must apologize to NTV and the viewers for missing this Sidebar show because he had confirmed. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the show. Let's begin by asking the obvious question. What happened in Parliament tonight? The replacement in the House Business Committee. We had a little bit of resistance from some of the members of Parliament, and obviously I'll begin with you in Parliament during the opening, and there was that push and pull, and the Speaker had to even explain why it had to happen like that, and there's an explanation that is to be given tomorrow also.
Thank you very much, Ken, for having us this evening. And I want to start by saying that I was actually in Parliament this afternoon and this evening, and honestly speaking, the list or the names that were presented insofar as the House Business Committee is concerned, they actually sailed through very well. I didn't see any acrimony because, as you know, that's a very important committee of the House. And actually, the reason why we adjourned immediately after is because it is their prerogative and it is their role to actually set the business, any other business going forward. That is why we could not transact any other business, because they have to sit and, of course, come up with substantive business. So on my side, I was there, it sailed through well, and I didn't see any acrimony. Because as you have rightly put it on your take, now we are a bit more objective in the House, because as you remember before the handshake, there was a lot of acrimony or subjectivity. That on the Jubilee side or the person on the NASA side, you were seeing everything on the lenses of the person you represent. But currently, we are very objective in terms of looking at matters for what they are.
Okay, but that's not true, because we had Ayub Savola actually talking about this in Parliament. He was against the replacement of Omboko Milem. That's the truth.
You see, Ken, for example, in a pool of 100 people, you may not have a choir of yes or no. You may have dissenting voices, but that cannot be construed because you have one person, of course, going against the grain. That cannot be interpreted as opposition. Okay. Of course, it is foolhardy. It's not possible in any political setup to have a choir of either approval or otherwise. Okay. So it is expected by the majority of members actually supported the list.
Okay. Barack, do you agree that that them sailed in through, because this falls directly to your party also, ANC?
See, there is regression in our democratic practice and dispensation in this country. Indeed, we ought to be very worried and to be very afraid because of the ongoing things that we call unanimity, that we call objectivity, because against the grain of history, what we are witnessing is regression. We're going right back where we used to be, where we had all manner of sycophants who are saying that there is unity, there's peace, there is love, that we are all united under one umbrella of the political party that was called KANU. And those were the things that we were fighting in the 80s, in the 90s, until eventually we found ourselves in the present political multi-party democracy dispensation. So as we roll the wheels of democracy back, those who are familiar with the history of this country will want to remember that these were the things that happened between the years 1965 and 1982, when people were saying, oh, now it is calm, KADU and KANU are working together. Oh, now KADU has been swallowed by KANU. It is now very good. KPU came up. It was proscribed. And we are right back where we were. Only that we just need to formalize that, as we have heard some people say that very soon there's going to be one alliance, that we are going to have our new party formed, that we are going to have Jubilee, we're going to have ODM, we're going to have Wiper, and without consulting some of us, we have even had them speculate that even ANC would be part of that formation.
I think ANC came out very clear about this a few days ago.
Yes, we certainly are not going to be a party to any formation of that kind. Anything that derogates the gains that we have made over the years.
But what is the problem, Barack, with having a country that is united behind an ideology, even if it's a party ideology? What is wrong with it?
Everything wrong with it. If you want to know what is wrong with it, ask yourself what happened in this country between 1965 and 1992. And you'll see that what happened in this country was that in 1965, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Tom Mboya, Mwai Kibaki, and Charles Njonjo were telling Kenyans that they wanted to bring unity in the country, and they caused KADU members of parliament to cross the floor to join KANU. The next thing that they did was that they killed devolution. Those who were not born, young people, may not know that we had this devolution that we have today. They killed it. There was a Senate, they killed it. And that is the same direction that we are going. So sometimes it is good that you have different voices out there. It is the character of the opposition voices that we want to interrogate, whether it becomes unnecessarily violent, because the politics of opposition in this country, out of the force of necessity, did start assuming a character of a violent formation. But we must invariably have different voices outside government articulating issues from a different standpoint.
Okay. Let me bring you now and speak to this. Your party also seems to have thrown the weight behind the Jubilee Party and the Jubilee Party leadership. In fact, we had a retraction from the party leader a few days ago, and he said that he was misquoted, but the word was already out.
He was, of course, misquoted. I was present at the function, which is called Coma 2. The media, of course, edited his statement. They did not show the entire statement, because if he says, if the president would like to extend his term in government and go for the prime minister, for example, you're just giving a story. Prime minister, I would support him. But in the same breath, I would ask him to reciprocate and support my presidential bid.
So the media picked the first part only?
Yes, they edited cunningly.
I don't think so.
I was present. I was present. He said so.
We are media professionals.
He did.
When you look at us, you are seeing media professionals who are trained, examined, qualified, practiced, and also train others. Now, this thing was very clear that when the time comes for a referendum, because it is taken as a matter of course that time is coming, and we want to vary the constitution so that it allows President Kenyatta to go for another term, that we remove the term limits.
No, that's what you're putting words in his mouth.
We remove
that's not what
the term limits. You see, this thing of people saying something today and then tomorrow they change, they make the media the punching bags. It is wrong. You should be able to reflect about what you want to say, and when you have said it, okay, be man enough
to accept it. But she says she was there.
I was there,
yes.
And he talked of so many things, and this was after he came in at the 11th hour, in finalizing it. After many people had talked, they had made several resolutions, and then is when he was giving his statement. He just didn't wake up and utter that alone. He had been saying other things, and it was just a continuation of the story. Okay. Of course, I remember when I sponsored the reproductive health care bill, and some media person said, I want to distribute condoms to children of 10 years. I would go talk for 3 hours, and the only thing I'd hear in the news is the word condom and sex. Then he told me, I have a right to interpret
because it's
the way I want.
To talk for 3 hours.
So as I'm saying, I'm coming up with this because the media people, of course, they always defend themselves.
But how comes the whole media misquoted Kalonzo? How comes the whole institution?
They shared the script, whatever it was, because we also recorded. And we can also play the whole thing.
Okay.
Yes. And even if he said, he has come out clear and said, no, ladies and gentlemen, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
How can he say extend the presidential term? The Constitution is clear.
But that's what a lot of people have been talking about. There's a lot of people who have spoken about that. So it's not strange to find someone else speaking about it.
If he wanted to say that,
he would have said it expressly.
He would have said it expressly, and he would have defended himself why he's saying that.
Because there was a lot of backlash and acrimony. Yeah. I know Dindi wants to stay out of this conversation, but perhaps that's the reason.
From where? There wasn't.
From the whole country. How
no.
There's even a cartoon.
I looked at Johnston Muthama and I could see shock written all over his face and a number
of course, I know it's a time where there were no juicy news and everything.
So
people have to create some interesting story. And as usual,
all the 90+ outlets.
Yes.
But I think we're also forgetting something else that Kalonzo said that could actually help us depart from this debate. And I had him in the same place, the same venue, talking about how Kenyans have branded him watermelon, flip-flop, and then he told us he can even accept to be called Uncle Steve. So probably the same thing we are talking about being misquoted could be the same kind of names that Kenyans have been giving him. Maybe he was qualifying those kind of things.
And just the other issue, as it's his dad's funeral, may the good Lord rest his soul in peace, when he just said, I want to be I want to be Mtuamkono of the president. It was literally taken like, I don't know, he wants to be briefcase holder or maybe making the tea, literally, and yet was just a statement, like to say, I said I want to support the Jubilee or President Uhuru to fight corruption and to do his the Big Four agenda, because that is also part of our ideology as a party. And
that's the problem Barack has with the political formations, because he says that we losing the identity and the gains we have made, because if your party and you're the Secretary General of your party throws its weight behind the Jubilee Party, then of course we don't have an opposition.
As concerns fighting the corruption, the Big Four agenda that they are, we've not forgotten that we are opposition. If they do something good, we will say, yes, that is good. We are also of the same view. Let's work together. And we ensure that Kenya becomes, I know it's mission impossible to say corruption-free, but it's reduced. We don't have to be in those high maps or in the world of other places. But we don't forget our job. When they do anything wrong, or if they deviate, we'll be the first people to tell them, hey, now here, you're not doing
But how do you do that? How do you do that when at the initial stage you work with them? You make the decision with them because that's what you mean. So if the Big Four agenda, one of the items of the Big Four agenda falls by the wayside, say housing, for example, there's a scandal unearthed, or universal health care, for example, and you work with them at the beginning, at what point do you plan to condemn them?
The moment we discover there's anything wrong,
But you're part of the decision making.
Not necessarily. Even if we are part of that, not necessarily. We are not the part of the
decision. President Uhuru Kenyatta has a fate of watu wa mkono. He doesn't need to outsource watu wa mkono. He has got more than he needs. There's an overflow, including in Parliament and elsewhere in the country. This thing which we are being told, oh, it was just a statement, this is the quintessential biblical prodigal son going back home and saying, Father, I have sinned before you, before heaven and earth. Make me one of your servants. I have come back. And actually, we saw what did happen a few days later. And a few days ago, at the same meeting that she's talking about, the same leader was actually gloating, saying that I have even been sent to DRC as the advance team. Yeah? As if there's no foreign secretary in the cabinet who would be the advance team going to DRC. So let us be very clear about this. When it comes to the big four, our role is to ensure that the government is doing what it has said that it's going to do about the big four, and that it's doing so cost effectively. I do not understand this mantra of inclusion that we keep on talking about, that we also want to be included. We participated in the elections 2 years ago, this year. The results were contested. At some point, the person we had fronted as our flag bearer decided to unilaterally accept the outcome. So the question of contestation with regard to President Uhuru Kenyatta's election ended at that point. And if it ended at that point, we agree that there is a government that is legitimately in power. It is a Jubilee government. It has got a president. It has got a teammate who is a running mate, and it has got a cabinet and the support squad.
Okay.
We allow them to do their work. We keep them
in check,
on their toes.
Is there comfort in Jubilee Party with working with the outsiders? Is there comfort?
First of all, I don't think it's the party that is working with outsiders. I would say it is the government, because as you know, Ken, honestly speaking, we have made a lot of good progress insofar as bringing calm and tranquility is concerned in this country. So in terms of the government opening up its hearts and accommodating the former opposition leaders, I would say we have seen a bit of calm and tranquility that is giving us a good environment, at least to be objective as a country. But I would want to say that in the long term, Ken, I don't think those kind of Panadol things are the ones that we need as a country.
Yes.
Because honestly speaking, we are a democracy. And in a democracy, I want to a bit agree and disagree with my brother insofar as having many voices is concerned, and say Kenya being a multi-party democracy, possibly, Ken, if you look back where we have come from one party, then we had a period where we had every person who had a following, even if it's 10 people, you start your briefcase political party. And I don't think that is exactly what our country needs. We need, in my opinion, at least 2 or 3 strong formations. One formation, of course, will form the government, the formation that you win in the elections, but we also need, Ken, honestly speaking, as a country, a functional opposition. And I think the proposal by the Deputy President, when he was at Chatham House, is exactly what our country needs. That when we go to the elections, we first of all discard this theory about inclusivity, even before we go there. Inclusivity insofar as having Prime Minister, 2 deputies is concerned, and instead of that, let's have a formation this side and a formation the other side. We go to an election, however you distribute your seats is upon is your business. But the people or the formation that becomes the first runners-up, that person, definitely speaking, is a person with a lot of following and most likely with a lot of experience. Take this guy to Parliament and they become the minority leader. That way, we'll have a very strong voice on the opposition. And again, this issue of being left out in the cold, you'll have, in the same scenario that we had in 2017, we'll have now the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, who was the first runners-up. He would now be occupying an office. Because I think this issue of being in the cold is what is making Kalonzo and the like become confused, say things, retract them, say they were misquoted, because I don't think it's very warm out there. Okay.
But don't you see even that proposal from the Deputy President is speaking from both ends of the mouth?
But I think DP is one of the most eloquent leaders we have in this country.
It's not about eloquence, it's about consistency.
I was just saying,
yes,
when he means something, he says it straight.
Okay.
And I think he has never said anything to the contrary.
I'll take you back to 2007. He was one of the members of the ODM party that had clamored to join the government together, right? At that time, we had government of national unity. Yeah. Yeah, but he, at that time, supported it. So is he not speaking with both ends of the mouth?
Honestly speaking, Ken, I think the circumstances were very different then. Because remember, we were just emerging from a very dark period as a country. And therefore, we needed measures that will put us, put that kind of violence behind us. Okay. And I think that is what we needed then, and they just rose up to the occasion. But in terms of having a structure that is permanent for a country, we have to run away from these Panadol prescriptions so that we form the kind of structure that will go to posterity as a country. And I think what he proposed in terms of having a government, but also an alternative government. But also, Ken, I also want to add this. Maybe the reason why we have, most Kenyans, we are not understanding this issue of opposition very well is because, honestly speaking, insofar as from 2013 to 2017 is concerned, and the few months after the 2017 elections, is because what we had was actually not an opposition, the way opposition should be, in terms of we bring these policies as government, then you bring alternatives. What we had was kind of thuggery in the name of opposition. But if we have a structured manner where the person who becomes number two actually occupies an office, even with shadow ministers like we were there before, and even like what happens in the UK, I think those checks and balances will take us a long way.
Okay, you have a right to respond.
Well, I can say, like, right now, just to end where he has said, people learn through experiences, mistakes or challenges, or you see what works better, well, how can we avoid ABCD? And we have laws, we have the Constitution, we have the political parties, and the Political Party Act allows coalition agreements, whether you can do it pre or post elections. And any political party is free to unite or to find a way of collaborating, as long as your agenda is one and we know what matters. Put Wanjiko first, change the way things are. And you know, before the handshake, we know how the country was. Is that where we want to go as Kenyans? That has costed us a lot. Economically, socially, we have gone down. Kenyans are suffering. So if you say that, like what President Uhuru and Raila did, and then our party leader, we go on the table, talk about what we can do best. If we agree, we agree. If we disagree, we disagree, and we move forward. It's not a matter of saying that someone is not consistent or saying this and changing. It's not the first time somebody has interpreted something wrongly. How many times have we, even the law is written in black and white, but we still go to court for interpretation, for the court's opinion, even to the Supreme Court. And yet, you'll find people arguing for and against. So it is, not, in my humble opinion, it is not fair, and we should stop these politics of fighting each other and move on. Elections are over now. Okay. It's time to work, and it's time to build the nation. Okay. 2022 is not far. When we reach there, we'll start competing.
Don't you think that's an escapist attitude?
How?
Because you don't want to face the reality.
Which reality?
One, that you are an opposition. You need to work as an opposition. Secondly, is that you have to be responsible for what you say and not come later.
It is not a matter of not being responsible. I will be responsible for what I've said if you say the right thing that I said.
But and if you tell us to stop judging and stop fighting based on what you say.
No, stop fighting unnecessarily. Like, we don't want to go back to the streets. We don't want to start shedding blood again, destroying property. It's time to mend and move on. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Barack, you have the final, we have to take a break, but you have a final word on this.
You see, coalitions in politics are normal. And coalitions, especially post-election coalitions, are products of circumstances and situations where primarily the necessary thresholds to form government have not been realized. And I said before, and I repeat, Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee have got the numbers. One of them is here.
Tyranny.
He can confirm that they have the numbers to form government, to sit there comfortably and do the business of government. And we, who did not win this election because we wanted to win, have got the business of staying out of government and keeping them under very strict watch.
It's time for embrace.
That is what we are supposed to do. But this thing of embrace out of a certain feeling of relative exclusion, relative deprivation, that you also want to be at the table, because it is considered that it is a dining table and you want your portion, and when you get your portion, we stop thinking about the fundamental issues that the opposition should be addressing. That is wrong.
Okay.
No,
But Ken, also, because we are talking about coalitions, I think we have led the way as Jubilee, because clearly, my brother here and my sister, you were in the same formation before elections. As we chose to go to the route of forming one formidable establishment, that is Jubilee Party. And clearly, as you can see, there is much more commotion in what was then a coalition. And that is why I'm going back to the point I said before. This country, what we need is not the kind of coalitions that even that is represented here. Because coalitions in Kenya is just a coming together of personalities and tribes. Instead of that, we better form one ideological political establishment in the name of a political party and run away from this kind of chaos that actually define what is called coalitions in Kenya.
But the chaos in the country today are most pronounced within the fraternity that is called Jubilee, where there is Jubilee A and there is Jubilee B. Mheshimiwa, who is speaking here, is a member of Jubilee B, which is also known as Team Tanga Tanga. But they are obtaining in a setting that you call denial, that when they are away from the limelight, they spend time worrying about their man, the Tanga Tanga leader. A few days ago, we saw Superman Fred Matiang'i being given the opportunity to be a super minister, and there was a lot of grumbling, and these things are captured. The media captures them every day and beams them to us as Kenyans, and we see these people complaining that we are not going to accept this. If this is what the handshake was about, we are not going to accept it. And then you dare come and tell Kenyans that this is the correct formation. You know what? If you cannot be consistent and you do not have confidence in what you're saying, you say this today, tomorrow in a different setting, you say something different, we are seeing lies on two legs.
But you know, at times, it's competition. And competition gets unhealthy. So if you have people who are exhibiting or they've chosen to do the unhealthy, or I could call it negative, politicking. No, I'm not talking about that. Someone, like you say something now and then will go out there, or someone will twist it and turn it sensational just to bring you down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
We need to take a break. We'll come back with this discussion, and I want to discuss one more thing that happened today. The IEBC announced today that they are ready to open the servers. I want to touch on that. Plus, politics of intolerance from across the board in political parties. But we'll take a break. We'll be back with that. And welcome back to Sidebar. My name is Ken Mijungu. With me tonight is Barak Muluka, Ndindi Nyoro, and of course we have Judith CJ. I was about to mention that Mark Nyamita disappointed that he was supposed to come here, but he did not make it. That's why we're not having a representation from NASA here or from ODM. Well, welcome back.
What do you mean?
NASA is here.
NASA.
But you don't represent NASA. You are ANC.
Yeah,
but we are a coalition.
It's an coalition.
We're still a coalition.
Yeah,
It's not been disbanded.
No. The coalition died.
No.
No. When did it die?
When did it die?
Does it still speak in the same voice?
Did you attend the funeral?
But does it speak in the same voice, Barak?
Your family, do you speak in the same voice with your brothers?
But we're not a political formation.
Politics is everywhere.
You know, NASA was formed at a time when the peak of election.
Yes.
We had lots of activities and very vibrant. Elections are over. So now this is a time that our priority as individual political parties is to build, restructure.
Which
but
part
we
of
still
NASA is
count.
alive?
The same thing they were
Everything.
telling you, that there is Jubilee A and B.
In fact, I was to
I
come
think
there, Ken.
there's NASA
No,
A and B.
NASA.
Ken, I was to come there.
Go
and
to the
I'll be very
register of
simplistic.
political party. It's still
But that's in
registered. and
paper.
I'll
No.
actually be very simplistic in my argument.
Simplistic, you are allowed.
The reason why even Ken himself chose to call 3 members of NASA and 1 Jubilee is because there is only 1 Jubilee, even in the minds of Kenyans, and even Ken himself. And the reason why he called 3 of you is because NASA is dead, and now what you represent is the former small political party.
NASA
That is the ANC and the rest.
We represent
and I keep telling
different
you,
shades. Eh?
Barack, because you are my brother, I keep
and
telling
your
you,
friend also.
the only reason people go to politics and the only reason of forming a political party is to form government. ANC as it is now, honestly speaking, Wiper as the way Wiper is now, it is a tribal formation. When you mention Kaba, when you mention Wiper, what comes to mind first is where it is dominant. But when you mention Jubilee, it is about the representation of the entire country. So my free advice,
do not delude
my free advice,
do not
delude other competitors in 2022. You should be busy uniting NASA, form a political party, because
you
clearly
see,
in Kenya, coalitions are not working.
The man who has just been speaking is a Tangatanga acolyte, okay? He belongs to the formation within Jubilee, which is called URP. And he belongs to the strand of Jubilee that was brought in through the machinations of the deputy president, who sorted out the political kingpins in central Kenya. This thing which we call Jubilee is a Kikuyu Kalenjin formation. And there are other people who are franchise holders within that formation. So beware. The pot calls the kettle
Barack,
the kettle black.
you
So be careful, don't throw stones around, because you can see that the Kikuyu formation within Jubilee,
you know, it's laughable.
the Kikuyu formation within Jubilee has even said it's going to go to court to ensure that William Ruto does not become president.
It's laughable
Yes.
that Barack can come here and call Jubilee Party a Kikuyu Kalenjin affair. Yet ANC, where ANC is most dominant, we actually have more Jubilee MPs than his own ANC.
Yeah, they
in
were
the place
rigged
where
in.
it is dominant.
They were rigged in.
Call it for what it is, Barack, honestly
Yes,
speaking.
they stole the election.
Who stole elections?
The people you are talking about, if I were
Which
you,
people?
I would be extremely embarrassed
Because
to say the
you
things
know,
you are saying.
okay.
I would keep quiet.
But Barack, with all due respect,
I would hide my head under this table.
But
let us at least be objective.
Don't start losing your cool.
I knew William Ruto when I was already a member of Parliament for Kiharu. And therefore, this fallacy, you may repeat a fallacy 1,000 times. It will never become reality. The point of the matter is that Jubilee is a dominant party. The other point is that Ruto still is a very consummate politician. And you have, even himself, he has been giving you free advice. We need worthy competitors, because we don't work out
you were told
even
by
in
President.
2022.
Why should he give us
Put your act together,
advice?
because you may come
His
here on
job,
national
his
TV,
work
Barack.
Given
You may
enough
repeat.
cut out
You
for
may,
him.
you may
He has
repeat.
got to deal with Murathe and to deal with Kabando and to deal
You
with
will
the whole
come
lot
and-
and Kabudul.
You
that
will
has
come
bundled
and
Let him
to-
speak, Barack. Let him speak.
you will come and recite and repeat so many times that there is a schism in Jubilee, there are cracks. But Barack, even if you even imagine in 3D or 7D that there are cracks in Jubilee, believe you me, you have more problems to solve in your formation than there are problems in Jubilee.
That doesn't sound like a denial of existence of problem in Jubilee. It's just that Barack needs to concentrate on their own problem, right?
Ken, honestly speaking,
Yes.
I keep hearing people talk about the cracks between, like what he's saying, that
which
there is a
people?
Jubilee A, there is a Jubilee B. And I keep wondering, who are these people in A or B? Because as far as I'm concerned, and he has actually already baptized me, that I'm the other, the B,
Yes.
meaning I'm not in the cream of the A team. My political allegiance, still politically speaking and
Yes.
party-wise speaking, we only have leader called Uhuru Kenyatta and one deputy called William Ruto. And even if you repeat 1,000 times that our president and the DP are not reading from the same page, Barack, you are just denying yourself an opportunity to see the reality.
Kenyans out there know the truth.
Which Kenyans? You are not a representation of Kenyans.
Okay, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let's play this soundbite, then we go to our next discussion.
Most cardinal thing in our party is to maintain discipline. Discipline within our members, discipline for party leadership, and discipline to the party constitution. So Honorable Moses Kuria was out of order, in my opinion.
2 members of parliament be de-whipped immediately from all parliamentary committees that they serve in the National Assembly with immediate effect, and that the minority whip of the party, Honorable Junet Mohammed, should move with speed to make the communication to the leadership of the House.
Na tuache kutishwa. Kwa sababu tukitisha tukaambiwa kwamba ukiitisha unaharibia mtu mwingine. Mimi ikiwa ninaitisha na yeye anaitisha na niharibia.
The politics of intolerance across the divide, across the parties. ANC, we saw that in Parliament today, although you denied there was something in Parliament, but we saw it. Wiper, ODM, they were supposed to be represented, he did not come. But generally, the politics of intolerance, I don't even know where to begin this now that ODM is not there. But perhaps let me begin with the Jubilee Party. Moses Kuria has been viewed as a rebel within the Jubilee Party, and that is the reason why the majority leader took the stand that he took, speaking to NTV yesterday.
First of all, Ken, I think that was his own personal view and opinion, because as you know, the issue of de-whipping anyone from any committee in Parliament is a prerogative of not the majority leader, but the party leadership. And therefore, we have a long way to go in terms of seeing that being actioned. But honestly speaking, Ken, political formations and institutions, all the time they emerge, they evolve, of course, and then they decay. Across board, there are so many political parties that have been formed in Africa and even Kenya, and of course some have collapsed. And most of the political formations actually collapse under the weight of an individual cult, a personality cult, where you have a political party and the only rule in that party is to worship a certain individual. What I'm just trying to say, Ken, honestly speaking, is that we need some kind of democracy in our parties, because we cannot be the champions of democracy as political parties, and then we are the same people who are negating the same principles that we stand for. But on the other side, Ken, just imagine a choir where you have a choir master, no one, even the choir members, are not willing to listen to the choir master, and here they are singing a beautiful hymn. And then the members decide, now we don't need this choir leader, we can do it on our own. The fella there shouts, the other one shouts. What you'll have there is not a song or a hymn. What you'll have there is chaos. So we have to temper democracy, even in our own formations, with some kind of discipline, because parties exist for a reason.
By threatening includes that discipline also, right?
I may not actually be siding
committees, right?
I may not be siding with the majority, with the Honorable Duale on his opinions, but I'm generally speaking, because it has happened in ODM, because you have seen Aisha and Dori, and on the other side, of course, you have seen the pronouncements of our majority leader. We have to temper the discipline in our parties with some certain amount of democracy so that we can feel contained and our ideas contained. Otherwise, Ken, when we degenerate to these kind of threats, what happens is that now Barack will feel, I'm no longer needed here, I no longer fit here, so we'll go back to where we have come from in terms of having so many political parties. If we are geared towards having a few formations, political formations, then we also need to expand democracy in them so that we can accommodate as many voices, we can accommodate as many opinions, but also we have to be mindful of the discipline so that at least we have some order within those political formations.
So what you're trying to say is that what the majority leader holds no water in the House, and it comes from the party leadership.
Of course, he holds a lot of water, but I've just given the route you need to follow, or the path, in terms of whipping a person from a committee of parliament. But of course, I respect our party leader, and of course, being our leader in parliament, he holds a lot of sway.
Okay. Yeah, because I wanted to remind you of what happened to Ben Chumo when he was appointed by the president, and the majority leader went straight and said that will not pass, forget about it, and it did. But let me come now to Wiper, and we have seen the likes of Kivutha Kibwana, Professor Alfred Mutua, Doctor, and of course Charity Ngilu team up against Wiper. There's a lot of also discomfort within Wiper itself.
I can't say there's any discomfort.
But how can you not say that?
Within Wiper, because
yes.
First and foremost, as a political party, we had held several meetings, several rallies, meet the people, get their opinion, and in all these meetings, our chairperson, Kibwana, was present. When the leaders from several places came and said, especially now of Ukambani, and declared, amongst others, that they would like His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka to be the flag bearer for the presidential position in the 2022. And many others, even coming up, we want to unite, make an economical bloc, and develop our area and do ABCD. He was present. He's the one who read the resolutions. After that, we went back to the NEC meeting. The NEC members deliberated on all these issues, affirmed them or confirmed them, and he went to the media and read the resolutions to everybody. At no time did he say, hey guys, I'm also here. I have ambitions. I would like to be to contest for the presidential position, amongst
Probably
others.
he wouldn't have been accommodated.
No. He would.
But the soundbite we have is of him saying, anytime you say you want to be, you're told you're being a spoiler for someone.
But if you run to the media, he ran to the public rally or whatever it is, the media, and he talked about it.
Yes.
Yes, he had never mentioned within the political...
so you believe he could have been accommodated if he mentioned it within your party?
We have avenue and we have channels of exhausting everything. He would have been, because we are a democratic society. We would have told him, okay, in fact, our party leader, it's not the first time he has gone through presidential position nominations, party nominations for presidential seat. He has done it before. We were at Kasarani. We did the nominations. He went through it.
Which is a formality.
No. It was done. Julio Jamba and any other people they wanted to be, and it was done. You know, it's not a matter of formality. You and I want, okay, let's compete, let the people decide. So it is not fair, again, to say that he has not been given the avenues. What I have a problem with is now seeing it in the media that there's an issue, and yet he has not brought it to us.
Okay.
He's still our chairman and of good standing.
Okay.
He even went and updated or paid up his memberships, these monthly subscriptions, which were in arrears for 8 months. So according to me, as a Secretary General, I've not seen any complaint. So it's I can't say it in wrangles. He has his own issues, and he can still sort them out, whatever it is.
Even that, you blame it on media.
No, what?
Even what you are referring to.
No, I'm saying he went. He talked about it. We've watched here. You've seen it. You've heard. I've not seen him deny that, oh, I was misquoted, or this is exactly what I meant. It is him, not us.
Saying. Okay.
Yeah.
ANC, Barack, do you witness the turbulence?
No, I don't witness turbulence.
But
I witness dissent.
Okay.
And dissent is legitimate. There must be many voices. People must be allowed to ventilate, to cogitate, to articulate. It is their right. We are not going to agree all the time. There are some who may tend to go a little bit overboard, but instruments, forums, and mechanisms of reining them in are there. politics itself is not a pot of cold porridge. It's in fact a very hot crucible where competing ideas meet in a melting pot, and they must be allowed the opportunity to be there. You know that we have got one or two dissenting voices. It is healthy. The reason that we were crying against KANU was that KANU did not allow alternative opinion within its formation. I do recall in 1976, Martin Shikuku, 1975 rather, just before he was detained with J.M. Serone, they did an interview with Hilary Ngweno of the Weekly Review, and they asked them whether they were rebels, and they said, no, we are not rebels, we are just dissenters, and so dissenting voices and opinions must be allowed.
Must be accommodated. But the question now is, how do we deal with them? Because that's, I think, is the issue from different political parties have taken different ways.
When they tend to go overboard, but the disciplinary platforms are there. And when we talk about discipline, discipline basically should mean restoring somebody to order. But discipline does not necessarily mean throwing somebody out of the party. It just means correcting them and restoring them to order so that they do things within the ambit. But even within the ambit, we must accept that there are going to be differences of opinion. I do not agree with Mheshimiwa here when he talks about a chorus and a choir. When they are being prepared to begin their 12 duty, all the new MPs hold the Bible or the Quran or whatever other holy instruments they believe in, and they swear by that authority that they are going to serve conscientiously, by which we understand that they are going to be governed by their conscience.
But Barack, before you become an MP and before you are actually sworn in, actually way before, even before you subject yourself to the people, of course you choose a party to run, to run on.
Indeed.
And by the time you are deciding it's this party or the other, you must have known what the party stands for.
True.
So all I'm saying is that we cannot have a political party without some form of discipline.
True.
Because that way then, even the agenda of the party itself nationally may actually not be able to be pushed. But even before you go to discipline in terms of dissent, as you are putting it, Barack, my first prescription would be that even us, because we represent political parties, we actually need to have an environment, to have a conducive environment where members, and especially leaders, the leadership, that is who are elected and those are in the party leadership, meet often. Because some of these, what we call dissent, probably are matters that can well be handled by having frequent meetings. You may call them PGs.
Correct.
Because that way then, you are able to ventilate within, other than ventilate without. So the issues, for example, facing our brothers and sisters in ODM, if you look at what you may call the charge sheet of those two members of ODM, I think the prime sin they have done is showing signs like they will be supporting a different candidate in 2022.
No, that's not true. I mean, they've been very explicit about the support for the deputy president in 2022. It's not been showing signs. They've been very explicit about it.
Ken, the reason why I'm saying it's good that we meet, for example, we had the handshake. And in the spirit of that handshake, maybe the two leaders thought it is wise for them also to join the side of the previous nemesis, so that even as we build the handshake and the tranquility and peace up here, we can actually demonstrate it by holding the hearts of the people we were throwing words on. So possibly to the understanding that we are doing the right thing. But my point, Ken, is that we need frequent meetings in our political formations because, again, as I said, if you look at the history of Kenya and even in Africa, we actually don't have many examples of political parties that have gone through the full haul. We only have formations that come and go after every election. And possibly maybe one of the reasons why they don't go through the long haul and the test of time is because we don't meet often. We actually don't made even our personalities together, such that you may be a member of Jubilee Party and actually what you stand on is very different from the other person. But possibly it could be a matter of semantics only. So people meeting, ventilating, talking, sharpening each other, I think that is the route that we should embrace as all political formations.
But I can say, like, as for Wiper, we meet very often and we share and we discuss. Everything is above board. But as you can see, there are many people. People have different ideas. And some people just, if someone chooses to be difficult, and they say strategies for 2022. Like, if I can say this with due respect to my chairman, in my humble opinion, he is just strategizing himself for 2022. There's nothing wrong with Wiper. There's nothing wrong with the party leader, but he's trying to flex his muscles to see, you know, this Kenyans do it all the time, so that you are in a position where you can bargain and look for something juicy by the time it comes 2022. Because we've not done, as a party, we've not done anything wrong. And he knows the avenues to follow. But if someone decides to do that, to get attention, to test waters, yeah, so they are free. It's a democratic space. But always say, go there with honesty. Just say, I am here, I have done my term, but I would like to do this, and this is my agenda, but don't start, I don't believe in that. Don't start name-calling others. Don't start bringing lies on the and making people fight. That's
do you think Kenyans have pushed the good old professor into this? Because Kenyans started talking a lot about his development record, and there are people who have been saying he's a good candidate for 2022. In other words, do you think this got to his head?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Kenyans. I don't know if it's Kenyans or if it's his own strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. All I know, it is just a matter of strategy. But that is devolution. This is what we fought for. Kenyans should know this is their right, and they should be getting such reports everywhere in every country.
Across the 47.
Because we give them the money to do it.
I don't like the look on your face, but
You see, I stated earlier that it is good to take a stand, take a position, and stand by it. I know Professor Kivuda Kibwana, and I do not have a brief from him to speak for him, although I've known him for many years. I first met him in 1975, and he has been extremely consistent. Professor Kibwana, I don't know what happened in the inner sanctums of Wiper, but I know that there were a number of politicians from Ukambani specifically who have been berating Kivuda Kibwana, Charity Ngilu, and Mutua, Governor Mutua. And they have said all manner of unprintable things about them. It was as a reaction, as a response to that, that I then saw footage of him stating that why should it be deemed to be wrong when I also compete. And this takes us right back again to the one-party dispensation, that there are people who just used to be elected unopposed. President Kenyatta, in fact, President Kenyatta was never elected, not even once in the history of this country. The first time he became president, Jomo Kenyatta, in the 1960s, we had a parliamentary system which allowed him as the leader of KANU to become prime minister. Then we made the first amendment to the Constitution of Kenya, and Kenyatta became president. After that, he was never elected. He was always going through unopposed. President Moi unopposed. Once when a certain gentleman whose name I don't remember, and which maybe we need not belabor our minds to try to remember, tried to say that he was going to contest against President Moi. I think you know what happened. He was berated, he was traumatized, and Moi, it's not until 1992 that for the first time he faces competition, and this competition comes from without. I think if we are serious about democracy, and today we were at this IEBC function, and they were saying that their theme is about strengthening democracy in the country, making Kenya a more democratic country, we must allow space within political parties. Some of these political parties, and I do not want to claim any rigorous criterion of objectivity in ANC, because like everybody else, we must work towards that. But some of these parties start becoming religious movements, and they have a cult at the heart of the religion.
Not right.
And the cult must be worshipped. And Dr. Willy Mutunga was today talking about our political parties as formations that have become shrines with false gods. Yeah? We must move away from that. And we must agree that we have fallen short of democratic credentials, and that there's something that we need to do about that.
Okay.
All I'd ask is for honesty. You know, I don't like dishonesty. If someone says, I want to contest, and says this is it, then come out clear and say, but don't just assume things and lie and try and tell the whole country this is what happened, and indeed it did not happen. Democracy is there, it is open. Anybody, even right now, we've not even reached 2022. We don't even know what will happen. But if someone wants to do anything, just come out clear. I want to try this, and this is the way I want to try it. But don't put words in people's mouths and give the wrong impression. And it doesn't help.
I was not there, so...
Yes, it doesn't help. That's all I say. Okay.
As we end, I'd like to talk about what the IEBC was discussed at the IEBC today. I'm reliably informed that by Barack, who was sitting there, that they never spoke about opening the servers, but they alluded to that, the fact that ODM has always, or NASA has always maintained that the server was never opened, but indeed it did happen. The question that Kenyans are asking, why this time? Why is it so comfortable for them to discuss this or talk about it 2 years into or after the election?
First, I think it would be extremely frivolous and even cheeky for them this late in the day to come up and say that they are opening the servers. I do not see what purpose, if any, that would serve. When Kenyans wanted the servers to be opened, the IEBC took a very stubborn, a very recalcitrant stand, even in the face of directions by the court, the Supreme Court. They refused to open the servers. And so I think they should keep their servers closed. They should keep their servers shut. Fortunately, I was there this morning, and I was seated right at the front, and I do not specifically remember
Maybe you're going to
them saying that they were ready to open the server. The mention that I recall from the chairman, Wanyonyi Wafula Chebukati, was that the technology of opening the servers is far more complex than we imagine. That's what I heard him say, and I waited to hear him say, but now we have the technology. That technology, and we are going to open, and I didn't hear him say that.
So in other words, he never said that the servers will be open?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
But
not to my hearing.
I find it misplaced now. We've gone through a lot. IEBC knows what happened. One of their colleagues is 6 feet under. May the good Lord rest his soul in peace. And if because of all those, now you want to open the server for what? What are you going to prove?
To serve what purpose?
Yes, what do you want to prove?
Closure.
You want to open wounds?
Closure.
And if you find that, for example, NASA won, what are you going to do? For example, if that is what is in that NASA, and in the server, and if you find that Jubilee actually won or they tied, what are you going to say about it? And people have moved on. They have built bridges. They have shaked their hands, I mean, whatever it is, and they say, let bygones be gone. Let's forge forward.
What happened to closure?
Closure is in the report that they released today. Which is a comprehensive report that is now a public document. They have done their own audit of how the election was conducted from even before the current commissioners got there up to where we are. And the next step for them, they said, is to engage in a strategic planning forum for 2020-2025.
Okay.
So they have brought this process to closure.
And at this point in time, I also think IEBC have got much more serious business to think about other than just opening servers. Because as you know, we are anticipating to have a census later this year. It is a very serious exercise insofar as how we appropriate funds in various jurisdictions and geographical areas in this country is concerned. And therefore, I think most of their effort should be in sorting out and preparing to have a credible census. And also, remember, Ken, the IEBC as we have it now is not properly constituted. And those are the kind of things probably we should be thinking as a country, and that should actually be their preoccupation. On how, first of all, to fill the remaining commissioners. I know part of the job of filling commissioners may not actually be theirs, but as a country, those are the kind of things we should be thinking about IEBC, other than thinking about opening servers. Census, and of course preparing for...
the census do not belong to them.
For the referendum.
To the IEBC, yes.
Yes.
But also, Ken, we may actually be having a referendum in future because the talks are rife and we can hear voices from various places and from various personalities. So even beyond the census, it may be conducted by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Sorry, I confused census with the referendum. Those are the kind of things that should be thinking about. We may be having a referendum, but also 2022 is not very far away.
3 years out.
It is only 3 years away. And I sit in Park, Ken, and I can tell you, whereas, in my opinion, they delivered a credible election in 2017, I think they took their sweet time. A lot of things, especially procurement, was done so much late in the day. And because they now have time, with no much pressure, we have tranquility because of the handshake, maybe they should be technically preparing for 2022 and also probably planning for a referendum that we are likely possibly to have.
Okay. Likely possibly to have.
Yeah.
We sure.
It shall happen. It's as good as settled. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, I'd like to show you the cartoon of the week.
The lady also.
Yeah, gentlemen and the lady, yes. I'd like to show you the cartoon of the week. So let's take a look at this cartoon, then we can come back to summarize. Because as we end, I'd like to mention this is a new parliament, a new session of parliament. What to look forward to in this parliament, especially the fact that we have been brought, parliament has been brought together. So let's take a look at this first. Right, that's Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, one side, and this is Kalonzo Musyoka on the other side. Says Wiper will adjust term limits. So it's just basically what we began to speak about. So Uhuru Kenyatta has maintained several times that he'll go according to the constitution. The same thing Mike Kibaki said before he retired. But it seems as though they're speaking different language. I'll begin with Ndindi. Your comment on that cartoon.
First of all, I don't think Kalonzo is the best placed person to talk about the terms, extending the terms for the presidency. First, because just a year or two ago, he was the same person going around the country convincing Kenyans on why they should not actually elect the current sitting president. So he's not very well placed to advise the president on what to do in terms of increasing his term or increasing the days in power. But having said that, Ken, I think we have to depart from this myopic thinking we have seen many African leaders being kind of despotic, that when you are set to power, the cronies around you, because most of them are very well-meaning, but the cronies around them who have so much to lose, keep on giving them wrong insinuations on holding on to power, not basically for the president himself, but for their own comfort, because they are cronies, and of course they benefit by the president being in power. We had the same discussion in terms of governance, Ken, and my response is the same. Let us depart from this thinking that when I'm elected, for example, the member of parliament for Kiharu, I think I'm the wisest person in Kiharu, I'm the most able. Let us also give other people a chance to serve our country, because it is not about us, it is about the country. And if it's basically about the country, then we shouldn't be obsessed by us holding positions of power. But luckily, as I finish, we have had the president pronounce himself very eloquently about that matter, because Uhuru Kenyatta has been one consistent leader and president. I don't think there is any African leader who would have actually obeyed Maraga last year, and he chose to obey the law and stick to the rule of law. A person of that caliber who have exhibited that kind of personality, I don't think you'd be swayed by this kind of nonsense.
Okay, you call it nonsense. The first person I ever heard who said this is when the president was in Kisumu. Professor Peter Nyang' alluded to it. Then we have Atuoli, who is from Kotu, speaking about it several times. Then we had the other day a TV station, the governor for Nairobi, also speaking about it. I mean, the chorus is growing louder, and that's how you start testing the waters, and that's how you start grabbing it, you know, and taking it out there.
Ken, some of these people are political scavengers. Of course, they have their imaginary formations in their mind, possibly having a president, a prime minister, two deputy prime ministers. So maybe in their mind, they are seeing a situation where they can be able to convince the president to lengthen his term in whatever name you call it, whether it's president or prime minister, not for his sake or for the sake of the country, but for the sake of the numbers that he commands, in terms of even them being included in that imaginary formation.
Okay, Judith, you had these conversations, and I don't know what you're thinking. Is it a chorus that is increasingly growing louder, and it's something that we might contemplate in the future, even as you comment on that cartoon from depicting your leader as the one who does not want to follow the Constitution?
I had told you, my leader, my party leader is a lawyer, a senior counsel. He knows the Constitution very well, and in it, he knows the terms are 2 terms. He said it, and I heard him say that. As I said earlier, this, of course, I'll use the famous word that everybody says he was misquoted, or someone misinterpreted his understanding or what he was trying to say. And for him to talk about extending President Uhuru, and it was just like a story, when he was saying that, acknowledging that the president is doing a lot about fighting corruption. Yes, and which you will agree with me so far, the time we've been around, even if you start with President Jomo Kenyatta. I was also being around, I was lucky to have seen a few years of President Jomo Kenyatta and any others. No president has really come out so strong to fight this monster called corruption the way he is. And that's what my party leader was saying. He appreciates that, and what he's doing is so good. And should he, amongst others, want to extend his term in government, in leadership government, that's what he was saying. Mm-hmm. And he wants to go for he says he wants to go for the prime minister.
He'll support him.
Support him.
It's the same thing we've been saying the whole night.
He'll reciprocate, yes. And it didn't come from nowhere. Mm-hmm. NASA, the coalition agreement, talked about, had envisaged a situation where they will be they extended the government and there's the position of the Prime Minister, deputies.
Expanding the government.
Yes.
That is not extending.
Yeah, expanding, sorry.
Yes.
Expanding the government as NASA. They had already foreseen a situation like that. If we were in leadership, would have considered it. So there's nothing wrong for him. It's not coming from out of the blue that he's just woken up. This is discussions they might have on.
Sounds to me like you're joining the chorus.
No,
it sounds
with the
to me you're
registrar of
joining
political
the chorus.
parties, Barack, you can say this. We can Google now, you can bring it out, and it is in the coalition agreement, that expanded government.
Okay.
Well, I have read the NASA coalition agreement, and I was not there when it was being drafted and signed and all that, and my conscience personally rejects some of these things. In fact, when you look at this whole referendum discussion, the way it has been taking shape so far, it ought to turn your stomach. And if it doesn't turn your stomach, then you need to have both your stomach and your head examined, because it speaks to a very narrow and selfish agenda among a few people, a small clique of persons who have bamboozled the rest of us, or some of us, to start agreeing with them with false notions such as if you have some 5 people at the top there in some kind of power formation, then the country will become glory land, which is not the truth. This is very regressive. There are fundamental questions that Kenyans should be talking about with regard to the Constitution. Why is it that we don't seem to solve the challenges in the health sector, for example? Just now we have nurses on strike. It's entered its 2nd week. Teachers are perennially on strike. Farmers have challenges with farm produce. They do not know what to do with it. You look at virtually all the sectors of our national life and they have issues. But instead of looking at these issues, looking even at the Big Four agenda and bringing the searchlight to settle on that agenda very sharply, interrogating government, what it is doing, we are perpetually talking about how we are going to make 4 or 5 people sit pretty in government. It's a very selfish agenda. They are not telling us that they want to be prime minister and deputy prime minister so that the citizens can become what?
Okay. Don't you think we can't move that direction before we sort out our politics? And that's what they're trying to do with the referendum, to sort out the competitive politics, the politics of do or die.
Before,
this issue of the winner takes it all.
Before we can sort out our politics, we must start by sorting out the referee. If there's any debate that we should be having today,
you mean the IEBC?
Debate of how we sort out the IEBC. Those in the authority to do something about the IEBC are sitting with their hands folded. They're waiting until the day when we have gotten quite close to the crossing line, then that debate will begin. Now look, if part of the questions that we want to address in the referendum is what to do with the IEBC, who is going to superintend over that referendum?
Okay.
If it's not the self-same IEBC. We have placed the cart before the horse. We are focused on the wrong things. The sorting out of the politics of this country will not necessarily be a matter of people taking away the democratic dispensation of the people of the country of Kenya. Francis Atwoli said the other day, and we ought to have been very frightened by what he said, that in 2022 we are going to vote for all the positions in the country. However, we are not going to vote for the national CEO, that one is going to be decided in some inner sanctums of some chambers somewhere. This is mischievous talk. This is very undemocratic talk.
That's his opinion.
It is. He said that he knows what he's talking about, and when Francis Atwoli says He knows what he's talking about.
He truly knows.
You had better take him seriously.
Okay. We have a minute or so. So Parliament has opened. We only have one member of Parliament. But looking at how Parliament has been constituted and what's happening in Jubilee side, speaking the same language, it's good on the flip side, because then we do not have to look at parties and party position and representation and who we are talking to in order to pass a bill. It's now unanimous that Parliament must work. But what do you expect from Parliament as we go forward? They begin business tomorrow.
Well, I expect them to adhere to the laws, put Wanjiko first, because I know the experience we had at the Senate, it was not so acrimonious like the last Parliament. But when important issues had to be decided, as much as at time, most of the time it would pass things by consensus, we, as the opposition side, would say, no, this one, we can't. And you give reasons, and you try and go about it. That's how I expect the current Parliament to move.
Okay.
Yes.
Barak?
Parliament must govern itself, of course, both from the platform of positions of the parties that are represented in Parliament, but the members at the individual level must never suspend their conscience, because they have taken a sacrosanct oath that they are going to interrogate their conscience on each and every matter that is before the House. Conscience is a constitutional matter, and it is protected. In fact, conscience is not given. It is a natural right that you are born with, and the role of government as a duty bearer is to protect your right to freedom of conscience. So I expect Parliament to apply itself to the great questions of the day conscientiously.
Okay. And the only member of Parliament has been listening. Your final remarks.
Can I expect us to be a little more objective this time round, because the political temperatures are a bit low, so we should take advantage of that, definitely, and of course be what we are, because I think the National Assembly in Kenya is equivalent to the House of Commons. We represent the commoners, and I think the business of commoners should actually preoccupy our time in Parliament. And having said that, one of the major issues we'll be dealing with, I'm sure starting from next week or so, is the issue of budget making cycle, which of course will culminate in around June. And in that case, Ken, I want to be very forthright. My opinion is that we have been reading a very ambitious budget. Over the years, we've been having treasury secretaries and finance ministers thinking that the parameter of their work and how hardworking they are is measured by the size of the budget that you read. But we know very well, there is no better way of judging the future but by the past. And judging by the many years of the past, even from 2013, we've always fallen short in terms of the revenue side of the budget. While we have robust ideas, we come and read a very, very beautiful budget. But again, this budget, Ken, is a matter of having money here and spending it here. And of course, what we capture as Kenyans is on how the money will be spent. Especially the UGA will come down, we are going to build roads, etc. But on the revenue side, definitely we don't pay a lot of attention to it. My request, even as we move forward to this budget making process, is that we need to make a realistic budget this time around. Even if we will make a budget lesser in terms of value than last year, we have to make a realistic budget so that we give realistic promises to the people of Kenya. But even having said that, Ken, we have talked about a lot of negativity in this show, but I want to encourage Kenyans who are watching. I have had a privilege to visit some of the very poor African countries. And I can tell you, this country, we are blessed. We are a very big country, in fact, even economically. The 16 poorest countries in Africa, Ken, are only half of Kenyan GDP. It's around 44 billion USD, Kenya being at around 90 billion USD. So we are in the right country, but we just need to make some things right, especially in matters of corruption. And in Parliament, we will do our part in that fight.
Ken, a footnote. a footnote. That should not just go. You know, a race of tortoises is a race of tortoises. Even if you win that race, you are still a tortoise. So don't tell us that because we have failed states in Africa and we are comparing ourselves against those failed states,
we're okay.
We are okay. No, we are not.
Okay.
We are human beings, and our
I thought we had ended this.
No.
Yes.
I still
I'll still urge Mheshimiwa here. Please do everything possible, convince your colleagues, and pass the two-third gender bill.
I think that
it's a high time we pass them.
The ladies stopped calling for two-thirds.
It's still pending.
No, they did 50-50.
Yes,
just
they
the
want
other day I had
50-50. Let's, if you can give us that, give us that.
They stopped two-thirds.
Then we'll strategize for the two-thirds.
I had that.
Yes.
Yes. I can guarantee you, I have 3 sisters.
Yes.
And I'm the only brother. And so definitely anything that favors our women,
you will go for it.
I will go for it. But
okay.
It may not necessarily be passing the two-third gender rule.
Speaking from both sides. Thank you.
We will go back to the drawing board and do the 50-50.
All right. Thank you very much. And finally, so tonight the conversation has been around parties. Some swallowed, some assimilated, others, well, dissolved naturally. On Time Bar tonight, we take you back in time and we begin in 2008. The date is the 5th of September. Now the headline read, parties face massive new fees to register. That was 600,000 shillings. Charge was among tough rules to be enforced by the ECK, then ECK. Let's go now to the year 2011. And the date is December 21st. The headline, shockers MPs rebel against party chiefs. Kibaki and Raila face an insurrection as members refuse to back anti-graft nominees or shelved new law to tame interest rates. And of course, this is the day legislators lectured the principals on house rules, banning debate outside the chamber. Right, let's now go to November 10th, 2012. And the headline is, Kalonzo is joining Raila. Of course, we know he did join Raila, and again in 2017 general election. Now, then December 16, 2015, Uhuru Ruto settled on new party for next poll. Now, leaders unveiled the Jubilee Party, complete with new slogan, and it was dubbed JAP, which has been rejected by a section of members. And finally, February 1st, 2017, Raila Kalonzo lead NASA deal for unity. On the other end, Wetangula and Mudavadi also joined hands, and the opposition vessel took the first voyage, let me say that. And of course, tonight, these political deals are in limbo, and no single outfit can convince Kenyans that all is well in the party. Baraki can't convince us, and of course, Jubilee can't convince us, Jubilee A and B. And the end of the day, in politics, there are no permanent friends or enemies, just interests. That's how we conclude this show tonight. A good place to end. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you, and thank you, Barack, for always coming for our shows.